Hi there, and welcome on the journey to transform culture. I'm Steve, and I'll be your guide. Well, folks, today let's jump into a little tip on organizational transformation. You know, a big hurdle that organizations, whether they be the leaders, the team at large, and everybody in between, one of the hurdles that you have to make is the perception and misperception or misconception, however we want to catch that, uh, of the history of your organization, things that have gone on, and interaction with the team and the leadership and everyone. And how do we get past some of those old issues? How do you hit the reset effectively? And I could probably go on for an hour about listing out and outlining out everything you could go through, but I just wanted to hit today on a real basic premise for you to keep it kind of simple and straightforward. First of all, it takes courage and a fearlessness to be able to kind of reset your organization's perception of itself. You have to make a commitment, not only as individuals, but as a team at large, to own your story, the past. Own your story, deal with issues currently, end the cycles, right? The passive aggressiveness and toxicity. Do a self assessment, be open and empathetic to others' perceptions, and see and find ways to make a change, right? Individually and as a team. Nothing really is off the table as long as we're being respectful. And, the big part of my approach is, with the journey to transform culture, the overarching theme is to protect love, right? And so you want to protect the sovereignty of everybody's individual expression, but we also don't want to abuse our expression and willfully go out and try to hurt other people. That should never be our intention, and we should all understand that. That being said, we need to be honest about how we feel about a thing, and not just to throw a hot potato in somebody else's lap and say, well, I felt bad about this, and now I want you to feel bad, because that just creates a hot potato, right? And then that person's going to say, well, I made, yes, I understand you felt bad, but I felt bad because you did this. And it's just a blame thing, right? You have to stop that whole approach, that whole responsiveness, right? Choose your response. But before choosing a response, breathe, right? Take a few breaths. Really hear what another person is trying to tell you. Not only a person, if you're a leader, it could be the entire team. And that takes some bravery to be able to step up in front of the entire team and say, okay, I'd like to get better, being able to take care of all of you as my employees and my teammates. And I want to know, some areas, some things that I could do better. Now that's scary. Some of you right now, when I said that, probably had a little inner shudder, right? Because you don't know what to expect. There could be a flurry of things, real and imagined, coming at you. Some of them functional, some of them maybe approach, maybe where you let them down, maybe where you didn't listen, where you didn't this, didn't that, didn't. And the thing you got to keep in mind is that it's better to know about it than it is to never know about it, right? Because we can go on forever playing the superficial, surface level approach to any relationship, professional or personal. You could go on playing this superficial game forever, right? Well, at least as long as we're on this planet. But we would never resolve anything. So we have to make a dedicated effort to ending the cycles of toxicity and the hot potato flinging and all this stuff. Own our part, make a determined effort to say, okay, I'm going to work on those areas, and I appreciate that. And everyone should, not just the leader, everyone should be open to that kind of assessment or feedback. The thing we want to be careful about is piling on, right? be gentle and not pile on, because you may have team members who have significantly dropped the ball, but they don't know potentially that they've dropped the ball, or maybe the way that they're communicating or not communicating, right? This isn't the time to crush somebody under your heel, right? This is the time to say, and be gentle, and you can be gentle. You can deliver the same message harshly or gently, right? There's degrees between the two as well. I recommend you choose the gentle approach, okay? And if you're receiving feedback from others, also don't reload and pre-charge yourself to be, well, if somebody says that I don't do something, I'm just going to push back. That just doesn't make any sense, and they're just absolutely wrong. No, don't even let your mind go there. Just receive it very in a detached, you got to detach a little bit from the emotion of it and say, okay, what are they functionally telling me? Okay, let me see if I can work on these things. And very methodically imbibe this into you, write it down, make some notes, and then work on those things and be thankful, right? Be genuinely thankful, because you're never going to get that kind of genuine communication and feedback from others if you don't first invite it, and not in a false way, like, well, I want you to tell me, and like, oh no, you're great. Let's not break our arm patting ourselves on the back and others. Let's be legitimate and say, well, these are some areas I could see where you could probably work on, and I want to know from you some areas that I could work on as well. Maybe start off with a very gentle pass of this and get everyone used to this. And then as your team gets used to this, then you can build upon it. You might even have small groups or teams. You may do it as a larger group, but keep in mind, people are more likely to clam up and not share their true feelings and give their true feedback. That being said, people ought to be honest enough if something is truly bothersome or problematic, that they ought to be able to speak up. And if they're not going to speak up in front of a group about something, then or write it down, then was it really a problem, or was it drama? Was what you've either heard in the past or things that have been going around, because you hear things. Obviously, we're human beings. The communication chain isn't just a professional one, right? We know this. But if the music in the air, so to speak, is such that people are concerned about a thing, but those same people aren't concerned enough to be able to write it down or to be able to express it to that other person, then they're not being genuine. And they're just using that as I won't say a scapegoat, but they're using it as a distraction, right? They're saying, oh, look at so-and-so, or this thing is going on, and so-and-so isn't this, and they're not doing that, and they don't respond. And some of these things may be true, right? But have we talked to so-and-so, right? Employee so-and-so. We'll call them 50-50 because so-and-so 50-50. Employee 50-50. But we have to decide ultimately, however you choose to make your process work for you, right? To make that process a gentle one, right? And as we go, let's not crush people's personalities and who they are. And this isn't a time for silly things to be problematic. These should be functional, work-related things, right? As you go, though, the team starts to warm up and starts to become more accessible to one another and starts to communicate better and better, then you might express, hey, I came to you to try to find out some information, but you didn't get back to me for, a day and a half. And I'm sure you were overloaded, and I'm sure we all are, but we need to, I would appreciate it if we just made a little bit more effort. Now, you don't need to do that in front of a group. I recommend you do all these things, individual to individual, right? That way it gives everybody a chance to take that in and go, oh, right? Because we don't want to turn this into a gotcha. If you're doing it for the group, I would say that as a leader, though, you probably need to just put yourself in front of the group That to me, this is what's going to define a leader, even a department leader, functional leader, over those who are the broader team at large. The willingness to say, hey, I want to improve and I want to hear what you guys have to say, and step up and let them, throw that stuff in your bucket, of to do fixes and work-ons, and that sort of thing. So we got to end these cycles in this reset, in our effort to reset. And the next thing is you got to get past the story of the past, because once people give you these things to work on, it doesn't matter if you're part of the team or you're part of the leadership group. Once they've done that, then we also have to agree that a lot of this, sniping and backbiting and backstabbing and all these things that can go on in organizations comes to a halt, and that we change our story going forward, right? It's so important that you now redefine your organization and change your story going forward as one that's transparent, that's genuine, has open communication, but that yet you're enthusiastic about the team and about the work that you do, but you're also gentle with difficult conversations, right? We don't have to be harsh. We don't have to be personally attack anyone, anything like that. That isn't required. Not only is it not required, but it's wrong, right? We shouldn't do it. But you also have to be able to tell a new story now. Get past the past. What's the new story? What's the new story of success and enthusiasm and projects we want to work on and things we want to tackle and things I want to get better at? And, start to bite into these with a hopefulness, right? And an excitement and enthusiasm and just a charge of energy. And when we do that, that can become infectious. Not only leaders talking to teams, but the team at large. If you're a member of the team, you can change the tone and tenor. You can change the entire environment where you work with your attitude and your enthusiasm and the energy you put toward those in positive ways, and not in false ways, but in genuine ways. And where something isn't positive, hey, you know what? Leave an open space. You need to give people a little bit of room to fail. We're human beings. We're not perfect. If you have a perfect expectation for others, then you probably have a perfect expectation for yourself, and which means that you're quietly hurting yourself because you're not perfect. None of us are, and your self-talk is probably just raking you over the coals, because if you want to hurt other people who are, less than perfect, just like yourself, then you're doing that the same thing to yourself. So you need to give yourself a little bit of break, right? My videos aren't perfect. I am not perfect. There's nothing that you can't improve upon that I'm not telling you about. And that's the whole point. We come and we do, and we come from so many varied backgrounds, and the work that we do and the things that we create and all of these things, right? There's such a myriad of difference that we have to be able to understand that there's no way in at all that we could any one of us encapsulate all things, right? We can't. We're all here to learn from one another, and that story going forward has to be one of learning, growth, and an ascended pattern of behavior, right? Our thoughts, our words, and our actions need to improve as we go forward. Just like our products that we make, our services that we provide, right? The way we keep our organization, the way we communicate with our customers, our efforts to improve, reduce waste, and to improve our KPIs, which brings value to the customers and the organization and the team at large, right? Not necessarily in that order, right? So it's so important that you learn to tell a new story about your organization. But to get there, you're going to have some of these heart-to-heart conversations. You're going to have to, as leaders, doesn't matter what level of leadership you're at, you open yourself bravely to being able to hear, right, and get some of the, it could be negative, right? It's like you don't, if you're the CEO and you don't visit, or the president or the whatever division group, whatever or pattern of organization you have going on, you don't visit us enough. You don't communicate with us enough. We're not hearing from you, if all the efforts that we're making are making a difference. Now, that could also be anyone in the chain of leadership could be dropping the ball there too, right? So we have to keep things in appropriate context. But that being said, leaders need to open themselves up to owning, hey, how can we get better in these kind of things? And also understand too, we're not all wired the same. We're not all gifted with the same knowledge, skills, and abilities, which we can build upon. We're not all given the same gifts in life, which we can try to build upon, right? But we may not be. There might be, look, I'm not a Michael Jordan. I played basketball. I'm only just a little over 6'1", but maybe 6'2", when I had my hoop shoes on back in the day. But I was no Michael Jordan, right? That is not the type of player I was, right? Michael Jordan is the only Michael Jordan, right? Just like every player has their own gifts, talents, gifts, the things that they've also worked on, their knowledge, skills, and abilities. Everybody is different and at different levels. It doesn't mean we should use that as a motivator to improve upon ourselves, right? But we have to understand that their gifts and my gifts are going to be different. That being said, we should all strive to improve upon our gifts because we may have gifts that align with others' gifts too, right? So if you notice that, mentor those folks in those areas where you're strong and put folks, that's the whole idea of mentorship programs, is to get folks on your team with those who are strong in the areas that they tend to align with so they can not only build upon their gifts, but their knowledge, skills, and abilities, and maybe in the arena of expertise that they're in. So don't want this video to go too long, but you get the point. All right, so let's do a quick recap. We want to end these toxic cycles and past cycles, the past story. We want to create a new story, but to do that, we got to cross a bridge. And what is that bridge? We have to be able to be transparent, listen to one another, with a gentle ear, and make the changes and start to transform in ways that will then allow our story to change. And by doing that, we can become great organizations. And there's nothing really can hold you back when you're on that path. It's fun and it's exciting, and it's just a special thing. All right, folks. Remember, hit that good domino 3 to 5 times a day or more to uplift, motivate, inspire, and just encourage folks. And when you do that, not only are you helping transform culture, but you're transforming yourself. And that's an amazing thing. All right, hit like, share, and subscribe. And until next time, we'll talk to you later.